Well, hey, Vision. Hey, it's good to see you here today. It is our final part of the Christian Atheist series. If you're new with us and didn't know what we're doing, we're going through the Bible as our first source and this book, Christian Atheist, as our second source. If you say, man, I'd like to have one of those. This has been helpful, or I like what I hear, we have a free copy for you. You can stop by the Connection Center afterwards. We've actually gone through all that we have, but if you give us your address, we will mail you a book for free. No strings attached. That's our gift to you. This concept of Christian atheist, this paradox of a Christian who is somebody who says they believe in God, they want to live for Jesus, and an atheist who says, I don't believe in God. So you say, how can those go together? We look at it as a concept of somebody who believes in God but doesn't live like he exists. You say, well, it sounds kind of familiar. That kind of sounds like some of my week. Honestly, if we're being real, it sounds like some of your week. That on Sunday, you may think this and believe this, but when Monday happens and Tuesday and bills on Thursday and everything on Friday, you say, okay, am I really living like God exists? Well, God wants to meet us right there and help us out. And so we're going to dig into it today. And if you missed any of the messages, you can catch it online. If you want a book, you stop by the Connection Center. Like John mentioned, your takeaway card, it's got verses in there you can dig into. So let's jump into it. But first, I want to talk about the beach. And I know John already mentioned it, but I want to see who likes going to the beach when you go on vacation. I definitely like going to the beach. We have fun at the beach. So here's what happens. You go to the beach, and does this ever happen where you enjoy the day, enjoy your dinner, you head down the beach as the sun's starting to kind of go down, get a little darker. You go on a nice walk. You're feeling the sand between your toes. I mean, I've already lost you, right? You're already thinking, oh, man, I'd much rather be there. No, you wouldn't. You'd rather be here. But after church, you go to the beach. No. So let's say you're at the beach. You're walking, the sun's setting, you're going down the beach, maybe walk a mile down, it's getting darker, you start walking a mile back, and as you get closer to where you think you're staying, you realize as you look back, you can't figure out where to get off the beach. All the lights have gone down, and there's just spot after spot after spot to go, bridge after bridge, and they all look the same. And you're like, wait a second, it is dark, I don't know where to go. How do I figure out the right way to go on my journey to get off here? Now, I'll finish that story at the end, but I want to tie this into Jesus. Because Jesus, many years ago, was teaching the people about being impactful with your life. And he pulled out two variables he talked about, salt and light. So we're going to look at these today and try to figure out what this means in our life to be salt and to be light. Because Jesus, the crowd he was talking to, they knew about salt. They knew about it for preserving meat. We look at salt and we say it's mainly about flavoring. We look at it and say, okay, you need to put a little more in the food or put some more in the popcorn or put in the grits, that we like salt in our food for flavoring. Jesus, when he talked about it, he knew that they really thought about it for preservation of meat. So if you only get one thing out of today, in a couple minutes, I'm going to teach you how to preserve your meat with salt, okay? So make sure you're going to learn that with me today. The second thing he talked about was light. And with light, now let me get some authenticity here. Has anybody ever sustained an injury walking through your house in the dark? That's a lot of hands. Not as many as the first hour, but there's a lot of hands in here. That we say, okay, the dark is not good for us, walking through the house. Or say you're walking down a city street, and you keep walking, you turn, next thing you know, you're on an alley where it's dark, and you're scared. You say, I need light. Now in my world, I had one story in particular that jumped out about light. That when me and Meg, we got married, went to the beach for our honeymoon, and about the second or third day there, we went to a water park. Okay, now we got any water park fans in here? Any water park fans? Yeah, we like water park. I said, Meg, we're going to the water park. So we're going to the water park. I said, okay, I got one ride I want to start off with. First thing I want to hit. So we go climbing up to the ride called the Dark Hole. Now, has anybody ever ridden one of those where you get in there, and the tube is small, and it's dark, and you're racing down at like breakneck speeds? I thought, man, Meg is going to love this. But we get on this ride. We get on this thing. And it did not really dawn on me that, Meg, she's got kind of like claustrophobia issues. She doesn't like tight spaces. Meg doesn't really like the dark. And she doesn't like getting, in the small spaces that are dark. And she also doesn't like the possibility that you could come out underwater in the dark in a tight space. But we get on anyways. So we go down the thing and we're riding. And I'm like, woo! And she's like, ah! I'm like, she is loving this. And we're riding, woo! And ah! Boom, we hit the water. We come on out, and, you toss the raft back. Well, I tossed the raft, and Meg's like, what are you doing? What were you thinking? I'm like, did you like it? Matt, I don't like confined spaces. I don't like dark, and I thought we'd come out underneath the water. No, I did not like it. And we did not ride the dark hole anymore. But at least I've survived 21 years of marriage. We made it past the first week, okay? But literally, in my world, light matters. So when Jesus talks about salt, he talks about light. It helps me understand. Now, Jesus, get this, he was on a mission. Okay, when he was on earth, 30 years of preparation, growing up, getting prepared, and for the last 3 years of his life, he was on a mission to talk about death, to talk about the fact that there is a heaven and there is a hell, and that we will go to one of those two places. And it's not because you're good or because you're bad or because you did the right things. It's because sin is in our life, and without forgiveness, we cannot go to heaven. He said, so here's my mission. I've got to tell you, and I've got to show you how to get forgiveness for your sin. This was his mission. He said, while I'm here, I will be salt and I'll be light to spread the word in this, but I need you to understand the urgency of this mission, that truly life and death, eternal life and death, is at stake. He said, never forget that. Now, I want to read you something out of our book here that kind of speaks to the way we kind of almost get lulled into a state of saying, well, that really isn't as urgent as it used to be. It's not something in my daily life I think about. So listen here. It says, intellectually, I believe in both heaven and hell. I mean, I got it up here, I think. But practically, the way I live daily, it doesn't reflect the urgency of my claimed beliefs. If eternity were at the front of my mind, I'd pray far more for those distant from God. I'd share my faith in Christ on a daily basis. I'd serve my way into people's lives. Instead of accumulating more and more, I'd actually use everything I have to spread the gospel around. I'd be salt. I'd be light. If I really believed, my life would look much different than it does. But the challenge is that many believe in heaven is the default destination, when in fact, the opposite's true. Jesus told us to enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. And he wraps up saying, if we embraced the reality that many are traveling toward an eternal hell, and few are on the road to eternal life, don't you think we'd overcome some of our Christian atheism and reach out to those who are walking on the broad path? And I read that and I say, that kind of sounds like me sometimes. It kind of sounds like me, that I don't have this urgency to the fact that there really is a hell, and God calls me to be a light to tell people about Jesus and his mission. Now, Jesus taught about this. Let's take a look about salt. He says in Matthew 5, you are the salt of the earth. Now, you get it. In his ministry, he knew, first of all, that he was the salt and he was the light, but his time was short. So he's teaching this, saying, listen, you got to get this. I'm going to leave, and I need you to carry out this mission. So he says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how could it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. So again, for us, we think about salt as a seasoning, something that enhances things, makes it better. But the people listening to this, they didn't have refrigerators. So when they had meat, they better know how to preserve that stuff. And Jesus said, listen, you know that salt is valuable for preserving meat. All right, now here's the teaching lesson on salt. I guess I always knew about salt and preserving meat. Here's how it works. When you take salt and wrap it all around meat, it literally causes a reaction in there to where bacteria and fungi can't grow. It squeezes them out to where they get dehydrated. So you think about with meat, when you put salt on there, it changes the environment in a way that only the salt could do, and only if it's working right. So Jesus was looking at people talking about salt, and they're getting it, saying, okay, salt has value. Salt is important to us. I mean, really even like life-sustaining to the meat and the food we're going to eat. Now, he continued in Luke 14, said, salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how could it be made salty again? It's fit neither for the soil nor the manure pile. It's thrown out. I mean, it's strange that Jesus and strange that me would be talking about manure. I mean, why would he talk about that? Well, the people say, man, why is Jesus talking about the big pile in the back a poo. That is crazy. Now, Jesus, he knew when they got this visual in their mind of manure. And now I could have brought you a picture from the ranch because we got a big old manure pile out there. But I want to show you manure and salt, there actually is a relationship there where you take manure, and if anybody here is a gardener, you know you can take that and put it on your garden or put it in soil, and it can help crops to grow better. But when you take good salt and add it to that manure, it enriches it to now twofold, fourfold, eightfold return on those crops just because you added salt to it. And I believe the people listening that day, they were hearing Jesus say, okay, that helps our crops. What does that have to do with you? And Jesus said, it's all about my mission. That I want you to be a part of spreading word of this mission. And when you do it as salt, as good salt, it can enrich other people's lives to where their lives, literally their crop, can be multifold. I want you to do that. Now, there's a guy in our church. I'll keep him anonymous here. But his wife told me one time about a pivotal moment in his walk. That this guy, he worked a job, and something happened at work that was stressful. There was some tension in it. And some of the guys came together, did some talking, and I guess the guy from Vision said, hey, man, I'll pray for you. Yeah, I'm a Christian. And the guy said, oh, man, I didn't realize you were a Christian. And this guy went home to his wife and said, baby, I've been working there 3 years. And if this guy can't tell that I'm a Christian, if this guy doesn't know that I'm a Christian, man, there's something wrong with me. That I need to be more evident light. And it's cool because he is a leader in our church now, and it was a shifting catalyst to where he truly thinks about being light, being salt that enriches someone else's life. So Jesus, he spoke about this, said, you are the light of the world. Now understand, this is a shift because Jesus, while he was here on earth, he was the light of the world. So let's see what he says. He says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So Jesus is saying, guys, you don't know this yet, but I'm leaving soon. So my light, in essence, is going to go out, and I need somebody else to carry on and shine this light. He, throughout the Gospels, made sure people knew that he was the light in the darkness. He said in John 8, I'm the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. In John 9, he says, while I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. In John 12, he said, I've come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. That is good news for us. But what if, when that light went away, when he died and rose from the dead and then ascended to heaven, if that light went away, he said, no, I want you now to be the light. And that literally somebody in his presence then took that light and shined it to somebody else, to another generation, to another one, all the way to now, to where that light got to you. And now we have a chance to be that light and to pass it on. And this light he talks about, it's got, I think, all kind of different looks to it. That, some of us, we're going to be a flashlight. Some of us, you're going to be, one of these things a little brighter. Some of us are just going to be a tiny little one that says, hey, this is me. This is what I got. Others, we're going to have, different looks and feels to us. But the reality is you got the potential. I mean, she has the potential to be the light that shines in the darkness. That when you walk through that house and it's dark, you say, man, I would kill. I mean, even just for one of these to have something that's going to show me the way as the light. Jesus says, that's us. So today, you're going to get to meet a couple people. The first set, they're taking the light and they're going around the world. And you might say, Matt, I'm not going around the world. I don't want to do that. Hey, God will call you to do something different. Maybe like the second person. This first couple, God has called them to go around the world. And I love this because where they're going is close to our friends from Watoto. You remember who came in December and sang and danced and led worship on our stage? We said, we love those guys. We want to be a part of supporting them. And so God has now brought us a couple that's going to go in the name of Vision, in the name of Jesus. Now, Spanky and Laura Rouse, I'll bring them up here in a minute. But you see their picture. I met these guys a couple years ago, back when me and Meg and our family were in this 1 year span in between ministry, trying to figure out where we're going to plant, how are we going to launch a church, how can we do this? And God gave us a chance to know friends at Ridge Church in Charlotte. And we went and hung out with them and got to worship with them and learn from them. And honestly, I just got to have a staff to go hang with and say, hey, pray for me, lead me, help me. And we built these friendships at Ridge. And so now, as we've been in contact, they say, well, God's calling us to move and to go. And I said, hey, we want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of helping you shine the light in South Africa. So if you guys would, welcome Spanky and Laura Rouse as they come up on stage. And guys, we're so honored that you're here. Because, I mean, Ridge poured into us so good. And, like, you guys, get a chance to, like, pour back into you and be a part of what you're doing. So starting off, why don't you guys show us the other picture and explain to us who you got in the Rouse house?
So this is the Rouse house. These are our people. Spanky is there down front with our oldest son, Mac, who's 12. And then behind him is Grayson, who's 9. And then Eliana, who's our baby girl, is 6. And, yeah, that's me in the back.
So, guys, tell us when, I know you're still at Ridge, but you're about to transition out. What has God done in and through you guys at Ridge and in Charlotte? What have you seen him do?
That's great. So we are from the Charlotte area. We've grown up here our whole life. And about 10 years ago, God led us away from the church that we grew up in, a very large, established local church, and to help plant Ridge, just like Vision. We actually, when we were sitting over there earlier this morning, we're like, this feels just like when we started. And it was exciting, and it was new, and it was family, and we love it. So it feels much like that. And then about 4 years into the church plant, we were just a volunteer, like most of you. God led us to be on staff. And while we were on staff, we had a couple roles. I was the pastor over small groups. And Laura and I, we cared for people in the church that were in need. So we did our pastoral care and loved on people.
I also have helped with the preschool environment that we call Wambaland, for the past 9 years. So that's been super fun to lead a team of people and to love on babies and help mamas sit in church and connect with Jesus and have a little break.
And our family, what we really loved about being a part of Ridge and on staff was God gave us the opportunity as a family to reach out to a community that's near us. It's a low-income neighborhood. It's got a Title I school in it, which means the majority of the families that go to school there are low income, and many of them in need or homeless, or a small portion are homeless. And so we were able to help our church with this idea of what if we loved and served and blessed our community in such a way that they knew God loved them. And so we were able to start this ministry there in the neighborhood. And then 2 years ago, God gave us the opportunity to actually move in the neighborhood so that our family could live with these people and love these people and be a part of them.
Yes. Now they're getting ready to leave in a couple months to go around the world, and now these guys are tough. Okay. In fact, I know the first service I surprised you, so it's not a surprise now. But this picture that I pulled of Spanky, like in training for Mud Run, I'm like, man, this dude, he's legit. I mean, I've seen him in mud, these pictures, and you said you're going to do one too.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, Laura's doing her first mud run with me.
Wow, I like that. So, you guys, you're investing in warriors here, okay? These guys are...
It's actually called the Warrior Dash.
So. Oh, is it really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, cool. Why don't you... So tell us about South Africa, about where you're going, what you're going to do, and we got a picture to kind of give you a visual of where they're going. What do you hope to accomplish shining the light over there?
So God gave us probably about 7 years ago a heart for Africa. We love Africa, specifically East Africa, which is where the Watotos are in East Africa. So why South Africa? I work for a missions organization currently in the home office here in Charlotte. And I get to travel and visit with missionaries and love on them and care for them and recruit new missionaries. And so I get to travel and see what they're doing. And last year, God gave me the opportunity to go, and Laura could go with me. And we went to South Africa. We have a community of missionaries there. And we're just loving on them, spending time with them. And when we were there, God said, this is the time and this is the place. And so for us, it it was a surprise as well as a huge blessing because we get to invest in the next generation of Christian leaders in Africa, not just South Africa, but all over Africa. What we get to do is we're developing, discipling, and training the next generation of missionaries that are African, not American missionaries, African missionaries, pastors, disciple makers, nonprofit workers, whatever it is, for their village, for their community, for their city. So we get to be a part of that by teaching them the Bible and really giving them a good foundation in that, discipling their heart and just sitting with them and loving on them and caring for them, and then giving them practical, hands-on ways to do ministry all around the city and all around South Africa.
I love the sound of that, guys. That's investing in leaders, which is highly impactful. Honestly, we thought about last night at lunch or dinner, we were talking, and imagine, what if we lived over there? And what if our oldest, Emmaus, who's 16, what if he accepted Christ? What if he was the only one in our family who did and wanted to be trained to be more impactful, even to reach his own family, to reach other people? And if nobody came to teach him how to do that, but what if you guys came and taught him how so that literally he could be more impactful, maybe to reach his own family, village, area? I thought this is totally what we want to invest in, is this type of project and this type of family. So why don't you guys tell us how can we help?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can come meet us after the service. We're going to be right back there at the Connection Center, that was called. We have these awesome cards that Vision had made up for us. It's our family, the picture, our website, so you can learn more about us. So they're at the back. We'd love for you to come by and grab one. We have basically 3 ways that we ask people, hey, will you be a part of this with us? We need people. We don't want to do it on our own. We can't do it on our own. We need people. So number 1 is we're looking for about 15 new families that will pray about being a part financially with us on a monthly basis. So we need about 15 new families to support us financially. We're trying to finish that in the next 2 weeks because we have to have 2 months of good finances before we take off in August, and it's coming up soon. So that. And then we have this really awesome tool that I'm going to let Laura tell you about.
Yes. Me and the kids made these prayer cards. They're in the back also. But we just wrote out our ABCs, and we wrote down a prayer for each letter. So some of them are funny, and some are practical, and some are personal, but it is all things that are on our heart, and we would love for you to pick one a day or go through the list with your family and just keep us in your prayers.
She created this for our family to use, and we actually use this every morning. We're eating breakfast with the kids. We have this dice that's got a letter on it, and we pick a letter, and we pray through it. And so we'd love for you to pray. This is one of our prayers the past couple of weeks is, God, will you send us a group of people that will not just pray for us as we're preparing, but while we're there, will literally support us and shoulder us in prayer. And so we're thankful for the opportunity to ask you to do that. Number 3 is we want Vision to come and be a part of this. We want Vision to come on a short-term team and work with us in these villages, in these slum areas, and see what God is doing and be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely interested in all 3 of those. I want to speak for a second into the financial piece, because for Vision, this will be the first international outreach partner we have. You know, what we do in our outreach piece of our budget is we have local partners, domestic, which is around the country, and international. So this will be the first ones that we partner with internationally. So you're giving, like John talked about, we take it and we pour it out into people who are going to make an impact in the world. My second ask to you, though, is that you consider, if your family or if you individually can help them or support them, and stop by, get a card and pray, or stop by and support them financially. Because we are totally open-handed here to say, if you have a chance to give directly to them and support them, do it. We believe in what they are doing. So please stop by, grab a card, talk to them, like them on Facebook and Instagram, and just be involved in their world. And when they leave today, they're taking 5 black Vision shirts with them. So I can't wait to see pictures from South Africa with the Rouse House, wearing those things, saying, hey, Vision, we're here in South Africa, shining the light for Christ and for Vision. So let's thank these guys for what they're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank y'all.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks. So again, you can meet them after the service. Let's continue digging into what Jesus said about light. Because again, he said that we're the light. And he's gone, but we're the light of the world. In a town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, what he's doing here is he's talking about how to be more effective. Because I would hope that in your life, you want to be effective at whatever you do. I mean, you don't try something to fail. You don't try something to be, half good at it. You do something to be effective. So what Jesus is saying here is, look, if you're going to build a city and you want it to be seen, you don't build it in a valley. You build it up on a hill. If you get a light out and want it to be seen, you don't put it under a bowl. I mean, that would be insane. You put it on a stand so it lifts up and it's more effective. So literally, Jesus is saying, okay, I'm teaching you something here that can help you be effective, but don't miss this key phrase he uses. He uses this phrase, in the same way. In the same way. He's not just teaching you this to say, man, that's pretty interesting. Wow, that's good if I want to shine better or be brighter. He is saying, please apply this. He's saying, don't just nod your head and say, man, that's a good encouraging message. He's saying, I want you in the same way as that city and that light, I want you also to have effect and influence in your light. Now, anybody here that paints around the house? Okay, honestly, I'm not really big on painting, especially that trim stuff, whatever. But painting in the house is a project that you can be, excited about. You can talk about it. You can go to Lowe's and buy the gallon of paint. You can even set it in the room with a brush on it and say, man, we should paint this room. It's going to be great when we paint this room. I can't wait to see what this room is like when it's painted. And a week later, you come back and the can's still there. A month later, you come back and the can is still there. What you need to do is open the can and apply the paint. You need application of the paint on the wall to have effect. And Jesus is saying the same thing. That I want you to hear this about light and hear this about salt, but don't just get it up here. Get it in here and apply what I'm saying. Well, I want you to meet one other person in our church. His name's Sean, and he helps back there in Trailblazer. So I'll make sure that he's back out here. Oh, he is back here. Great. And Sean, what I love with Sean is this is the guy who's about application, okay? He takes stuff he hears and he goes after it. He had his own business. He went after it. He's going to get his master's, I think, in business. He's going after it. I mean, this guy makes it happen. So, Sean, why don't you come on up here? Let's invite Sean up on stage. And Sean, grab a microphone. Because I want you to see that just like there's different flashlights and light sources up here, some may shine in South Africa. Some shine right here. And Sean, with your family that's here, let's take a look at your crew, man. And explain to who's up there.
We've got my stepdaughter Alexa on the right, my wife Christy in the middle, and Ella on the left. We were at Daniel Stowe's Botanical Garden last Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day, yep. Right. Well, I love this family. I love what God's doing in and through you guys. And now for you personally, you're in Trailblazer. And if you guys hear, a little while ago, music thumping and walls shaking and stuff like that, that's our kids ministry. And so you take a look, and that's a good view. Of course, Sean, I don't know why that Nick had the red nose on. Were you not wearing it that day?
No. Nick always, he runs with that one.
He runs with that one.
Yeah,
okay.
He does.
But when you get back there and you love on these elementary kids, we hear all the time about how God is not doing childcare back there. God is growing these kids in Christ likeness. So real quick, man, what's your role like back there? What do you do?
Just kind of keep it together. I mean, some of your kids are back there. It's very diverse. Some kids are foster kids. Some kids have troubled, beginning. Some kids don't have any problems, but back there we're all one. We have a great time. It's very energetic, and I feel blessed to help lead these young kids in a godly way. Wow.
Well, Sean is definitely hitting home runs back there. I hear all the time about how God is working in and through him. So we had this project come up. We're calling it Project Refreshment. We said we're going to shine the light here in town. I invited Sean to head it up. So this Project Refreshment, where we're basically taking cold water and giving it out. We'll flesh it out more here in a minute. But tell us about the test phase. Remember, we did that about a month ago. Mm-hmm. Short notice. I mean, literally like that morning. We did that afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
It was super quick.
I think maybe it was 24 hours,
Yeah.
but yeah, I said, okay, what would it take? Maybe 45 minutes to hand out water and then try to invite other people to Vision, a place that I call home, and I want to share that with everyone.
Yeah, and it's so cool that we only had 4 little teams go out, and we've had at least 4 families now visiting Vision because of that. But one in particular that Sean and his brother Tommy, they gave water to, a mom and her kids, they come here now. I mean, they call Vision home now because you passed out water that day. Mm-hmm. So as we go into this first phase of Project Refreshment, where it's simply, we're going to get people to sign up. You can go by the tent today and sign up and say, okay, on June 3rd, we're going to come by the church with empty coolers. Vision will have the water. Vision will have the ice, and all that's been donated. Mm-hmm. So cool. All that's been donated.
Great job.
You come by, you get cold water and little cards that say something like, this water refreshes you today, but God can refresh you every day. Come check us out at Vision. We'd love to see you. Get 50 bottles of water, 50 cards, and go to a place and give them out. Now, Sean's got a map. And in case you know, Sean, I think was an art major in college.
Absolutely.
Man, that is exquisite.
Yep.
And Sean is heading this up to where we're building teams. We're going to give out water. What do you expect to see happen, man? What's going to happen?
Well, we've got 20 locations. My goal is if we could get five families to come to Vision that haven't been to Vision. I think that's realistic. And with y'all's help, we can cover 20 locations in Gaston County that day and spread the word about Vision.
I mean, it's really pretty simple. I know the day we did it, me and my daughter, we went to Lowe's, stood by the exit, and if you've been in Lowe's, you've been shopping a while, you come out, and you're like, man, I'm thirsty. And if someone's standing there just giving you a free bottle of cold water, got a little card with it, and that's it. I mean, there's no ask, no sales pitch, nothing. Just, hey, man, would you like a free bottle of cold water? Mm-hmm. They take it. They take it. That's all you'll have to do to help us get 1,000 bottles of water out, and we'll see what God will do with it.
Yep.
So I invite you guys, if you can today when you're leaving, stop by the tent, meet Sean, meet some of his team, and if you want to sign up or if you at least just want to get an info sheet and be thinking about how you want to be involved, it's coming 2 weeks from yesterday. It'll be here. We'll see what God will do. So,
absolutely.
All right, guys, let's thank Sean for heading that up. It's going to be fun. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
So you can shine the light around the world. You can shine it here in town. Let me give you 4 next steps you can consider taking for shining the light. The first one is invite to church. Invite to church. We feel like we've created an environment here, like when you hear about them talk about Ridge in the early years, in a church environment where you can bring somebody who doesn't understand God or is mad at God or is confused or is hurting in life, and you know that this is a safe place. We won't embarrass you. We won't embarrass them. I tell you all the time, every Sunday is our best Sunday. You can bring somebody next week. You don't have to wait for Christmas. You don't have to wait for Easter. Bring them in, and we will do our part to create an environment where they can hear from God. I mean, I look out in this room, and I see people that were not here a month ago. And it shows me that God's working, that people come in and are getting a taste of something good. And it's not about me. It's not about Mitch and our team. It's not about us. It's about God's power working through us. So think throughout your week about who you can invite to church. Take an invite card for a series, an invite card throughout the year. Share something on Facebook. Invite somebody to church. God will use that. The second thing is to serve someone. To serve someone. Our society is so much about give me, me, I want, I need. When someone comes up and says, man, I'd like to help you. I'd like to serve you. I'd like to be a blessing to you. It catches people off guard. I mean, something as simple as, okay, maybe your neighbor has surgery and you're like, hey, can I mow your grass for you? Or somebody else, you see life running them ragged and you take them some cookies. Or around town and you buy somebody's food at McDonald's. Or whatever it looks like in your world, ask God to give you an eye to see, how can I serve someone? How can I bless someone? It opens a door. The third, this is a tough one, is use your influence to shine. Use your influence or the platform that God gives you to shine. And what's tough about this is if you really mean it, if you say, yeah, man, I will use my influence to shine a light for Christ, what God's going to say is, okay, I'm going to take some of the circumstances in your life and give you a chance in that moment to shine a light. You get cancer, and God says, look, it's not just about you and the cancer. It's about the person you may come across who has cancer, and now you can talk to them way better than I can. It's about the person who is divorced, and you've been divorced, and it hurts, and you never want to even think about it anymore. But in that moment, you can talk to somebody about divorce, and that there is hope beyond that, and you can speak into their life and shine that light better than I can. For me personally, this really hit home about a year and a half ago. And, to plant a church, it takes a lot of sacrifices. And for our family, we gave up a lot of things. And about a year and a half ago, I'm standing in line at Walmart, and I just gone through the store, and I only got a certain number of things because the reality was I only had a certain number of dollars. And I get in line, I'm like third in line, and it's like things kind of stopped a little bit, and I'm just deep thinking, and it just kind of hits me, honestly, kind of like a pity party. I was like, God, I don't have hardly any money. I mean, like literally that year, I was like, I'm going to make about $24,000 this year. I said, when I came out of college, my first job, I made $21,000. And here I am 2 decades later, and I'm making about $12 an hour. And honestly, sometimes it gets in your head, you're like, man, I just kind of feel like a failure. I kind of feel like my family is relying on me to be a breadwinner, and I'm making $24,000 a year. Am I doing the right thing? And is it kind of, again, it was like a pity party, and it's kind of weighing on me. And it's like God tapped me, and he said, hey, Matt, remember when you said you wanted to be a pastor that could understand people? That you wanted to be a pastor who could know how people feel? And God said to me in that moment, he said, don't forget how you feel right now. Don't forget how it feels to not have enough money. Don't forget how it feels to make a decision in the store because you can only buy 7 things today and you got to go home and make it work with that. And he really said to me, stop having a pity party and use the platform I've given you to shine your light. And I will never forget that. And I want you in your platform and your influence to not forget that God's put you there for an opportunity. Use it to let your light shine in that moment. And the fourth thing is be prepared to share. Be prepared that in a certain moment, God may say to you, student, he might not just say, tell them about church. He might say, tell them about me. If you hadn't read it yet, make sure you're tracking in here, because in the chapter on this in here, Pastor Craig tells one story where he did tell. He said, I'll tell him tomorrow. And the guy died that day. He tells another story where he did tell him. In fact, he walked back in the room and said, I got to tell you. I have to tell you today about the difference God has made in my life. And the person he told, honestly, they didn't get cured. They died. But they died with a hope they would not have known if he wasn't prepared to share. And we'd love to help you do that so you are ready to share your story. So you flash back to the beach, and it's dark on the beach, and you've been walking on the beach, and you're coming back on the beach, and you're like, I don't know where to go. And for a little while, it's kind of humorous, but really, if you've been there, and you're like looking, you're like, all the buildings look the same, all the parts of sand and the bridges look the same. I don't know where to go. And you would just hope that somebody you knew was standing at your little exit on the beach, just going, hey, I'm over here. Hey, Matt, right here, look. And somebody would shine the lights and say, oh, okay, great. That's where I go on my journey. That's how I find the right way to go. So never forget that God has given you a chance to shine a light, and be thankful that somebody shined it to you.